Welcome back, class. We're on the downhill slide on this one. So one more segment. We're going to put chapter 7 to bed, and hopefully you survived it. I've been able to survive going through the video. So hopefully you've at least been able to, I guess, capture some nuggets, capture some tools that you can take and stick in your toolbox and use for future classes if you're, fairly early on in your academic career, or if you're close to graduating, you'll be able to use some of these concepts. Not only if you in your personal life, but if you decide to be an entrepreneur, you decide to work for a company, be able to tie some of these concepts together and make you significantly more successful. But in this last segment, we're going to develop this utility maximizing solution. And what you as an individual, or what any individual, or what any companies, this may be individuals, but you can take and tie it back to the theory of the firm. And firms, business is going to be doing something similar. They're trying to optimize total utility through maximizing profits. So what you want to do is you want to be on the indifference curve that gets your highest level of total utility and not exceed your budget constraint. So in the text, they talk about reaching the highest possible indifference curve given your budget line. So remember, we talked about the slope of the budget line. We talked about the slope of the indifference curve. We've walked through those, and we've kind of come to the conclusion we know what those are. And at the same time, if you want to be at that indifference curve that they talk about it kissing the budget line. In mathematical terms, you're talking about it being tangent to the budget line. So you want that indifference curve that just kisses, that just becomes tangent, not necessarily cross or intersects it. You just want it to barely kiss that budget line, because that's the highest indifference curve and the highest level of total utility you're going to be able to achieve. At that point where your indifference curve kisses or is tangent to that budget line, you have the same slope of the indifference curve and the budget line. At that point where they kiss or become tangent, you have the identical slope between the two, the indifference curve and the budget line. And so at that point, the slope of one equals the slope of the other. The slope of the budget line, so you've got your downward sloping budget line, provides the market trade-offs. Market trade-offs based on price, based on market forces. That gives you your trade-off, and that's your budget line or your budget constraint. The slope of the indifference curve gives you your personal trade-off, based on marginal utilities, based on prices and marginal utilities. So at that point where it kisses in a tangent, that's got the market trade-offs equal to the personal trade-offs. Also, you're maximizing utility at that point. And also remember, where they're tangent, those slopes are equal. And so we talked about earlier, marginal rate of substitution is the slope of the indifference curve. The slope of the budget line was, price of X over price of Y. And if you start doing some math magic and substituting, so you swap out the marginal rate of substitution for marginal utility of X over the marginal utility of Y. Remember, that's what the marginal rate of substitution means. And if you think of the slope of the budget line, now you've got that equal to the price of X over the price of Y. And you do some, again, math magic, you do some cross multiplying, and you do some dividing, you actually end up with marginal utility of X divided by divided by the price of X equal the marginal utility of Y divided by the price of Y. And what is that? What does that take you back to? The marginal decision rule. At that point, you've got marginal benefit equal to marginal cost. You maximize net benefits at that point. So we've gone kind of a, kind of a roundabout way. But if you think about where you started in chapter 7, now you come, kind of, full circle, and now you're back to, you are maximizing your net benefit. And utility maximizing and the marginal decision rule, you're going to get equal bang for the buck. It's the additional units should be purchased as long as marginal benefit is greater than marginal cost. And when you get to that point that marginal benefit is equal to marginal cost, you maximize that net benefit for consumers, producers, and society. And at that point, the market in itself is going to be at the maximum net benefit. And again, you're talking about where the indifference curve is tangent to the budget line. It's going to show you the market and personal trade-offs. And at that point, that's where they're equal. It's always also where the slope is equal. And you continue until you reach that point at which they are tangent. You continue playing with your indifference curves until you find that indifference curve at that point at which they are tangent. And at that point, you have maximized net benefits. If a consumer's indifference curve intersects the budget line, then it's possible for the consumer to make exchanges along the budget line that move the consumer to a higher indifference curve. Remember, we talked about, you don't want it to intersect. You don't want that to be the point. You want it to be the point where it kisses that tangent, or it kisses or is tangent to that budget line. Utility maximization and demand. Prices change the budget line. Can construct a new demand curve. So remember, that budget line is locked at certain levels of prices. And as prices of either X down here on the horizontal, or Y here on the vertical, if those prices change, that budget line may rotate and end up touching or attaching to the vertical and horizontal axis at different points. So that's going to tie things together for us. I think that's all we've got to go through in chapter 7. We are going to give it a rest at this point, and the next time we touch base, we're going to be talking about chapter 8. Thanks for joining, and hope this has been beneficial. Thank you.